All right, hello, welcome in everyone. Um, this stream should go like better. I changed a couple settings around. But hello, welcome in everyone. Who do I see in chat? Also, sorry, I'm like sleepy again. But hello, welcome in everyone. Who do I see in chat? I see Moxie Griffith, Jar from Another Mother, Rosa Luxembourg, Carby, Drew, Az, and Sleepy. Hello, welcome in everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today we are going to be doing is an animal art Q&A. Hello, Drew. It's been a while since I actually participated in the stream. That's all good. Welcome in, Sleepy. Glad to have you here. Um, but yeah, so today what we are going to be doing is we are going to be doing an animal art Q&A. So while I'm teaching, so we're going to be starting with wings. But while I'm teaching this lesson, it's going to be one big stream about lessons. So there won't be one final there won't be one big final piece. It'll just be a big stream of mini lessons. So if you would like to, during the entire lesson, just ask me questions about different animals, different things that you want to know, I will gladly do them later on. Because it's gonna be just one big stream of mini lessons. So any questions that you have about drawing certain things about animals, I will do a mini lesson around that. Just like the human stream that we did a little bit ago. But yeah, wings. Don't. No, I promise. I have I have something planned. Hey Jesse, do you ever participate in the monthly art challenges? I usually don't have time. Maybe I'll participate if I'm like really, really into the idea, but I haven't had the time as of late. But yeah, okay. Let me turn this down. Just my ambiance that I have for myself is a bit louder. All right. But before we get going, y'all probably know the drill by now. So if you did not know, our growing community is filled with tons of art nerds, and we art nerds have to stick together. So if you're an art nerd too, be sure to check out the links to our social media in the description below, and check out our website for our class offerings, where you can get critique, guidance, and encouragement from our instructors. Because we're not just a YouTube channel, we are an art school too. So if you'd like to support us so we can keep making free content, consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $2 per month, where you can get access to tons of perks like my working files, critique sessions, and a huge discount on our classes that have a limited amount of spots, so be sure to check those out before they are gone. Okie dokie. Just don't draw wings. No, you should draw wings. Wings are good. Do not the wings. Okay, so I've already written it down just so then we can get going a little quicker. Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry. Hang on. Oh, okay. All right. So there's a few things. What I'm going to start off with is just talking about the stuff that I see people do when drawing wings. And the stuff that you probably want to avoid, the stuff that you maybe want to think about when you're drawing them, and stuff that I see pretty often when people draw wings for the first time, or like are not very experienced with drawing wings, that you probably shouldn't do because it kind of ruins the way that they look. Hello, America, welcome in. Wings approve any character design by 50%. That's so true. Okay, so the first thing that I see a lot of people do when they draw wing shapes is a lot of the times I'll see this really thin section of the wing that goes into something very large. So the wing shape is more like that, almost like a speech bubble. Hello. So it's like we'll start with this really big. So again, I'm going off of more realistic wings if we're kind of going off of the more anatomical look for wings. If this is just kind of how you stylize wings, sure, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you want to draw them this way, like again, I'm not your mom. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it, but in terms if you want wings that look a little bit more functional, this one doesn't really work. I'm a big fan. I'm glad. Sorry I'm not as high energy as usual today. I don't know what's come over me. It be a burb wing. It be a burb wing. So don't do it this way. This way is disproportionate. This is too thin. Will not. Be able to lift weight. Right, so this kind of wing, right? I see this a lot when people are kind of drawing wings for the first time, right? It's a little bit disproportionate and will not be able to lift weight. It is really funky. If you have like vestigial wings and these wings kind of look like that, that's totally fine by me. I don't care. But these wings are very stylized, but they aren't necessarily kind of wings that would actually work, right? So if you have wings that are just a little bit more of like again vestigial or something just for decoration, you know, then maybe they do look like this. That's fine. But this kind of wing is a little bit too disproportionate. Another wing that I see is just people drawing wings like this. Like ostrich wings. Useless. They are useless. Vestigial wings. Drawing wings like this is something that I see a lot. So straight edge. It's unrealistic. It looks flat. Somewhat boring and unconvincing. So wings that look like this, right? I'll see this one a lot with a lot of younger artists, right? This kind of straight edge look. Oh, also, we're working in Photoshop today. Haha. We're doing a different, I mentioned it last week, but we're going to be working in different programs every single week for a bit. So I did Clip Studio last week. This week we're working in Photoshop. Next week we'll be back in Medibang. And then we'll start the cycle again. So then we'll be back in Clip Studio and then Photoshop and then Medibang, and we'll see what happens. But it is Photoshop today, so that's why the setup looks different once again. Though I did set up my Clip Studio Paint windows to look pretty similar to Photoshop, I just need to mess around to actually make it feel like Photoshop again. But yeah, so a hair comb wing, basically. Hello, Gigi, welcome in. But yeah, so this straight edge, this kind of shape is not really how wings function. It's not really how they work, not how they bend, right? It does kind of feel like two pieces. If you ever made like a cardboard box spaceship when you were a kid, or if you are still a kid, if you've ever made ever made like a cardboard box kind of spaceship and like you tack on the wings on the sides that are just two like rectangles, that's kind of how this wing feels like to me. Alright, so the straight edge is unrealistic and it looks flat, somewhat boring and unconvincing. Doesn't really feel like a wing, feels more like a fake wing than it is an actual wing. Hi, how's it going? Not too bad, Art Cat. I'm glad that you're in. And hello, Salty. Welcome in. Glad you made it. Let me check something real quick. See, that is my bitrate, but I don't know what's up here. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing all right, Art Cat draws. Glad you can make it in. So, again, with the wings, don't tend to draw them like that. Straight edge and unrealistic, don't tend to draw them like that. So those are the general wing things that I see. What else? I'm trying to think of like something else that I see people do. Oh, if you're drawing them on a person. If we have our person here, sometimes I see people draw feathered wings like this. With the fluff on top too. So this is more like butterfly wings. They're too small to function. And unrealistic feather placement. Right? So there are feathers on the tops of wings, but they're never usually that fluffy. Right? So this kind of look is more like butterfly wings, right? And it's too small to function. Okay. For reference, for somebody who is my height and weight, I'll give you my height. I won't give you my weight. So I'm a bit I'm closer to 5'5", but I'm like a bit under 5'6". If I remember correctly, my wingspan has to be about 20 feet. In order for my wings to, if I had wings, in order for them to lift me off the ground. So a wingspan of 20 feet, that's not big enough, right? They gotta be big, big wings. Hello, Angel. Welcome in, Angel XLE. And hello, Automart. Feather wings always tedious to draw. They're the best. I love them. Yes, you're not too late. We just started. You're all good. Has so many fingers. The only box wings I get are from KFC. So true. I vibe with that for you. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about just in general. So stuff that you don't really want to do when you're drawing wings. Is that. Okay. Hi, Ian. Welcome in. But yeah, those are the general things that you don't want to do when you're drawing. You have to be mostly wing at that point. Yeah, no, that's basically how big they gotta be. Remember, guys, you can just ask whatever questions that you want as well. If you have other questions about like different animals and whatever that you want me to do a lesson on later, send them in, and I will gladly make a thing about it after this one. I'm watching the stream while sitting in my dirty laundry. That's valid. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually draw wings now. I'm not going to go over the crazy amount of stuff that you want to keep in mind. Are fish animals? I don't know. I feel like that's something up for debate. What exactly is the function of a rubber duck? Good question. Your own amusement. So we're going to be going over just the general placement of feathers for wings in general. There are different types of wings, but I won't be going over all of those. I'll also be doing the very general shape of wings, how to think of them when you draw them. If you want something that is super, super intense, like if you want a more intense coverage of bird wings, you can go over to a past stream that we did. Oh my god. You can go over to a past stream that we did, which had all the different kinds of wings broken down really, really strongly, which was the bird stream, which we did a little while ago. But today I'm just going to be going over wings as a general thing. Teach me to draw the hairy fogfish. Okay. So a way that you can think of wings and how they're shaped is very similar to an arm. It's really, really similar to an arm, right? So if we draw the general anatomy of an arm, you have the start at the shoulder, right? Go down into the elbow, have the forearm, and then we have a wrist, and then our hand. Oh, let me actually just keep it at that purple. So if we have the shape of the arm here, what we want to do next is, think of the wing. Again, very, very similar in shape. If I kind of just copy paste this one. What we can do next, all that's different with the wing, is if we took the fingers and extended them downwards. And we added in the fluff underneath here. Right? So it's the same kind of bend. That goes down, comes back up, goes back down again. And then there's the feathers on the inside. Right? So it's really, really similar to one another. We have like just a general arm, but with birds, like with our bird wings, now we have all those feathers in between. Kind of place, right? So wings are proportionally very similar to an arm, same bend. I need this tutorial. Thank you. You're such an inspiration. Thank you so much, Johansi. I'm glad that I could help. instructions weren't clear. Got hand stuck in toaster. Ian, I'm not sure how you manage that. I feel like a 911's a better number to call for that one. You draw references for wings, like poses for references if I want to draw anything that involves wings. Also draw dragon wings. Yes, I can go over dragon wings after this one. I don't even own a toaster, really? Oh, you know what? I guess I don't either. I have a toaster oven. And there's a piece of skin stretched between the shoulder and wrist, so often the bend is very rounded. Yes. So it's weird. Spawning toaster. So that's the general shape of like a bird wing, right? Very, very general kind of look. And what we want next, though, is how to place the feathers, right? So I'm going to just draw a wing really, really quickly. Just pretend that this looks okay. Normally I'd color code this. Actually, you know what? Let's just color code it anyway. So this section, then we have this section. Which I have actually drawn incorrectly here, so let me fix that. And then there's this section. I tend to draw my feathers really, really large, so. Then there's these ones. And then there's these ones. And then there's these ones. Okay. I don't know why I lied about that. I definitely own a toaster. Drawing wings like manta rays plush forms makes drawing feathered bird wings easier in my experience. Yeah. Just like how you're doing it right now, yeah. Such a bird nerd. I don't know the feather names, how many primary flight feathers there are. That's okay. I have not memorized how many of the feathers there are. I just kind of draw them. There are a certain amount of number of them, though. Salty is correct. I have not memorized that number, so I just draw them in a more fantasy way in that regard. I've seen a bird once. Yeah, same. I only contain useless knowledge. Not if you're going to go into something that involves birds. Okay. So these feathers are called your primary feathers. Like Salty mentioned. Your primary feathers are the ones that I believe are mostly used for flight, right? So these are the ones that kind of help keep them aloft. These are the primary coverts. These are your alula. The alula you can think of if we kind of translate it back into the arm. The alula are like their quote unquote thumbs. So if the fingers kind of spread out down here, this is where the thumb comes out. So the alula are like the quote unquote thumbs. These ones up here are the secondary coverts. These ones are your secondary feathers. These are your tertiary feathers. Let me rewrite that. Tertiary. And these are your scapulars. Number of feathers is however many I can fit into the drawing. Valid. The 12-year-olds are never wrong. I do taxidermy, that's why I know it. There you go. I read a book about it once, and that's how I know these. Okay. I'm just moving stuff around real quick. Okay. So these are the sections of your feathers, right? So you have your secondary coverts, your lula, your primary coverts, primary feathers, secondary feathers, tertiary feathers, and scapulars. So this is how you would layer your feathers on top of each other. This is the general amount of feathers that you have when drawing a wing as well. I believe I've messed up the placement a little bit, but that's fine. And if we were to translate it back into the arm, this portion right here would be the shoulder. You'd bend kind of down here. That's the elbow. Be able to come back up. This would be the thumb, and this is where the rest of the hand continues. So we want to think of it that way, right? When we are drawing our wings. But yeah, we want to make sure that we still have that curve when we are drawing our wings. We want to make sure that we are placing our feathers correctly, making sure that we have enough feathers, because too many, too little ends up making it look a little weird. If we have them super, super uniform, like this straight edge one, it can look really, really unnatural. So we don't want to draw that tiny amount to make all of our feathers look exactly the same, because that tends to look a little bit wrong. Hi, hello, Smoky Claws, welcome in. Can I follow the structure while layering a cake? Perhaps. Alright, who asked about references for wings, like poses for references for dragon involves wings, dragon wings. The poses, I can do my best. The dragon wings, yes, we can go over that. So dragon wings, bat wings, that kind of deal. Really, really similar to thinking about the arm. So if we took the arm again, if we started with our wonderful little arm, had our thumb up here. Now what we're going to want to do is with the hand, we're going to take our fingers. I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. We have them spread out like that. And we just got to add the skin in between. That's literally it. You can fix this thumb if you want. It can just be like a spike if you really want. But all you really need to know is that it has the same sort of bend, the same sort of feeling as a human arm. Right, so dragon or bat wings. The same function. As an arm. Skin folds. Or actually no, skin extends. Between lengthened fingers. And attaches to the side of the body. Which do you prefer more, dragons with bat-like wings or dragons with feathered wings? I'm going to say the bat-like wings, only because they're a little bit easier to draw over and over. I love feathered wings, but like in terms of like having to draw it over and over, the bat wings are a little bit easier. Also, I find that I'm better with foreshortening and perspective with the bat wings, so it's a little bit easier in that regard. I like both, but when I do a feathered wing, I have like the designer in me is like I need to make sure that those feathers echo throughout the entire design as well. Like I can't just have the feathered wings and everything else be hard scales because that looks weird. because then the two shapes are like clashing together. Because it's kind of weird to have like everything be super hard and plated, and then just have the one fluffy area with the wings. That feels weird. So then that means that I have to draw feathers on the rest of the dragon too, or at least at different parts of it, and then that gets tough. I am not against doing anything tough, so like if I ever have to do a dragon with fluffy wings, I absolutely will, but if I have the decision, I would choose the dragon, the more batty wings. Hello, Dragon Girl 658, welcome in, you're just in time. I've always wondered how problematic flying would be for four-winged dragons, like the one from How to Train Your Dragon. Good question. That one I never really thought about. Because I've had to deal with things with like 6 wings before, so like having to fit that onto like human anatomy is really weird. But yeah, so dragon and bat wings, same function as an arm. The skin extends between lengthened fingers and attaches to the end of the body. So I don't think I have the time to do like a bunch of poses with wings, but what I can do is I can show you how, if you were to draw like a person with wings, I can show you kind of how that would fit on the back. So if we have our person, pretend that this head looks okay. Pretend if we have like our person here. Because people do not have wings, everyone messes with this anatomy a lot. It isn't necessarily 100% accurate. Because there is no 100% accurate way of doing it because we don't have realistic reference to go off of. This is just generally how I think of it. So if we have our person, if you I'm trying to think of a pose that you can try and attempt. So if you raise your arms and bring your elbows backwards, you'll feel your shoulder blades moving. If you kind of just reach behind you as well, you'll know where your shoulder blades are. It's like I'm trying to but you'll be able to feel the move if you kind of roll your shoulders back. That's where your shoulder blades are. These hard little triangular points here. A lot of people, what they do is they have the wings come from the start of the shoulder blades. If they're larger, you have them come down a little bit farther. So if we have our person here, that kind of hurt my shoulders the way that I rolled them back a bit. Yeah, pretend that this figure looks okay. Let me fix this. So generally what we have is like you would start the wing kind of around here. And you would extend it from there. That tends to be what a lot of people do. It's kind of starting them at the shoulder blades, which gives them a slightly more realistic starting point. Shoulder blade. Yeah, so often people will begin their wings at the shoulder blade and continue from there, because that tends to be a more natural point to start. How would you draw bird legs on a humanoid like the thigh and calf? That I can go over. Yes. How many of us rolled out the shoulders back when she said that? Yeah, that was my intention. If I had to guess, you'd replace the lower leg below the knee with your bird foot, since not both legs have similar leg structure. Something like that. A lot of useless wings for aesthetic purposes seem to be drawn on the back, on top of the back of the hips. Doesn't work, but looks pleasing to the eyes. I actually don't like that look when people draw the wings down here and then have them. I don't like that look that much. I know a lot of people do, but I tend to not like that. It just bothers me. It's kind of like when people place cat ears a little bit weird on the head, and I'm like, okay. It's like it's the popular thing that people do, so I guess I can't comment on it too much. And then if you're wondering, like, the realistic size for wings on a person, Like if you really wanted to get kind of funky with it, they gotta be huge. Like they gotta be like really, really big. These are like sea glider wings, but these gotta be like really, really big. I'll just pretend that I'm doing the right amount of feathers on these. Oops. Yep, so they gotta be huge to work. Hip wings are peak. Have a human character with dragon bat wings, but have the problems drawing them. Yeah. Dragon bat wings are funky because you can either do this thing or you can do the arm thing. So you can straight up just have the arms be wings. I have a character like that who's a bat. So his wings are his arms. So it's not like you have his arms and then the wings. His arms are his wings. Because that is what bats are. Like bats, like bat arms are their wings. It's the same with birds. It's like bird arms, quote unquote. They don't have arms. Their arms are replaced by wings. That's why they have the same anatomy. So that's kind of why you can think of them like arms. Where should cat ears go then? I can talk about that in a moment. The cat ear issue especially annoys me, yeah. Jesse's OCD kicking. Wouldn't their bats be really big and hunched because they're whoa. English. Wouldn't their backs be really big and hunched looking because their back would have the regular shoulder blades and also the whole bit for the wings on top? Not necessarily. Again, it's fantasy, so people never really do that. It's more so like think of how your arms are right now. Think of like the wings as another set of arms on your back. So that's sometimes how people draw like four-armed people as well, is that their shoulder blades have the ability to hold more than two, like one set of arms. So it's like a second set of arms is sprouting from the shoulder blades. If you really think of it in more of the skeletal sense. Again, it's fantasy. We don't have wings. So a lot of people just kind of mess around with it and like go like, yeah, that works, whatever. So there's never really 100% something there. Where do ears go on fish? Asking for a friend. The funny thing with fish and ears is that their ears, I believe, are behind their gills. It's something like that. It's either behind their gills or like behind the eyes. No, isn't it behind the eyes is on reptiles? I'm trying to remember. Regardless. I must now draw a fish with ears. Perhaps. But yeah, okay. But yeah, dragon wings can be done on those two kinds of ways. Okay, so let's move from. Oh, actually, no. If we're gonna continue, I'm trying to think of how to separate this because Oz asked about the legs. You know what? Let's just change this from wings to just birds because there's a lot of bird things here. Oh, you know what? Actually, no. Let's just move on to a leg thing because let's move on to a section about legs because then we can talk about different kinds of legs as well. That's what I'm here for. Fresh human ears. It's even worse when they add cat ears on their head and then add normal ears under them. That's a peeve of mine as well. Fish. Fish with wings. Technically. No, not technically. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway. Yeah, legs. It's animal legs. What are some funky things that I've seen with animal legs? I'm trying to think. What are some stuff that my students have done? True, that's a thing, yeah. Animal legs, animal legs. Oh, Ian, that's what a hairy frogfish looks like? I didn't even realize that was real. You said that a while ago, I'm sorry. I knew what a frogfish was. I hadn't seen a hairy frogfish before. That's a fun guy. Thank you. That's now in my list of the animal roster that I have in my brain. Of course it's real. To be fair, like, the sheep's head fish is another thing that's real, and I'm always like, I love telling people about the sheep's head fish. It's my spirit animal. That's valid. Animal legs. The things that I see, like animal legs, I'll go from the perspective of animal legs on people. I'll talk about both, but animal legs. Some stuff that I see some people do, right? Don't. If we're drawing them straight on a dog, I'll go for, like, dogs first. Just because, like... I'll draw... What kind of dog am I doing? I don't want to do a corgi. Let's just... Corgis are a little small. I'm actually kind of bad at doing... Like, they had, like, the Mind Horse challenge. I'm really bad at drawing dogs and cats, actually, from memory. So, like... I'm fine if I have a reference. I'm bad if, like, it's right. If, like, I don't have one. So we have a dog. I see some people just... Woo! Woo! You'd think I'd be better with dogs, but I'm really not. The straight up and down. What's the dog doing? A corgi with long legs. No. I love corgis. He's a good boy. He's a good lad. He got chonky legs. But yeah, this is one thing that I see. Is the straight up and down, no joints. Don't do this. So no. Leg bend. Unrealistic on people. And animals. Well, I guess people are animals, but the no bend is something I see more often than you'd think. Is that a dog? He's not a good dog. He's a... Don't be mean to him. I meant 2 pairs. Too many legs. He's a dog, quote unquote. No leg bend. Another thing that I see sometimes is, like, if we got a chunker, if we got, like, a... I want to draw a chunky dog. I'm trying to think of a chunky dog, like a chow chow, maybe. Is this a pigeon? Perhaps. I wonder how much art information I can learn without ever actually drawing anything. You sound like this one guy that I knew in high school. He was like, I could animate in theory, and he loved to, like, point out mistakes in, like, every single art kid's work, and he never drew anything. It was really funny. He really annoyed me. That's a bear. Chow chows do tend to look like bears, to be fair. I'm okay with getting critique from non-artists. It's just if you think that you're higher than anybody just because you know theory. That's when it starts to annoy me. But he was like a weird Pomeranian. I'm bad at dogs when I don't have a reference. Pretend that this looks like a dog. Okay. That's me. I do that. Art club president. LOL. I'm the opposite. How can I draw without taking hours looking for references? Yeah, no, I usually, if I find that I can't draw something, I will look up a reference. Like, I've memorized a lot of things, but... And then I see dogs like this, and then, like, the legs are like this. Oh, this kills me. It's disproportionate legs. Legs should match the body they're attached to. Okay, so these are just general. Those are the legs on an animal. Let's do for legs on non-animal. So if we do like people. No, those legs, they kill me. They told me one day they voted me to be the art club president. I was like, I'm in the art club. Sure enough, I went to the first meeting and got vetted in. That sounds like the opening to an anime, like a weird slice of life anime. A marshmallow with toothpicks. Okay, so on people, there's some stuff that I've seen. I'm trying to think, because I don't get a lot of students who do this. Oh, you know what? If we're starting with just general animal legs, where it's just the person legs, and then pause. So this is technically not incorrect, but doesn't. Take proportion. And the initial anatomy / weighting into account. Right. So this is technically not incorrect, right? We'll talk about why I find this incorrect, but it doesn't. But really, it doesn't take proportion of the initial anatomy / weighting into account, because what this does is it actually removes a joint. It takes away a joint that should be there. Legs in general will have 3 joints within them, or 3 like primary quote unquote joints within them. And while this is not technically incorrect, it doesn't take the initial proportion into account. So it does feel more incorrect than like what most people tend to do. I'm trying to think of how to space this. Yeah, let's just go with this. It's a big enough canvas. I don't care. Okay. Why would you say technically not incorrect? Why wouldn't you say technically correct? I don't know, Ian. Okay. Drawing the bipeds is challenging. Yeah, for sure. Just have wing placement on people. Yeah. So I'll talk a bit about how to work with that, right? So this goes for why I'm doing mammal legs. I know I was asked about bird legs. We'll be talking about both because they do work basically the same. We'll just be talking about how to go around with both. When we're drawing a person's leg, right? If we start with, we are something called plantigrades, right? We are plantigrades. So I'll show you what that means. So if we take our legs, so that's the thigh, and then the calf, and then our heel, and then our toes. 4 sections, right? 3 quote unquote joints. So these are, oops, find somewhere where this color is. Yep. So this is plantigrade. So heel, and toe are on the ground, right? So plantigrade feet are what we have, right? So our heel and our toe are on the ground. Other mammal legs, like dogs, cats, birds, are digitigrade. That's what these legs are called. So this is digitigrade. So only, oops, toe is on the ground, right? That's why this one is technically incorrect, right? Because by drawing it with just these two and then the paws, we're removing our heel. We're removing a joint that's in there. So you're basically just completely removing it. That's why it is incorrect in a more scientific anatomical way. Right, so when we draw all of our animal legs, our digitigrade legs are what we have for dogs and cats and birds, most birds. How do goosenecks work on humans? I believe it's just like an extension of the spine. Learned that word yesterday. Fun word. It is a fun word. This is so much better than art class Zoom. Here we actually learn something and pay attention. Yes, sir. Forgot that word. Plantigrade. That's what I was missing. Yes. Kangaroo. Kangaroos are actually plantigrade, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because kangaroo legs are like, you have the big haunches, and then you have this back here, and then its big feet sit like that. That's like a kangaroo leg. So kangaroos are actually also plantigrade. Like us. Kangaroos are plantigrade, if I remember correctly. If I'm thinking correctly about it. You really assumed an answer to that question. I will answer almost anything on stream. So I'm drawing legs wrong my whole life. That's all good. I'm addicted to drawing bipeds with digitigrade legs at all times. I was like that all the time in high school as well. Heels and ankles are just too weird and plain to draw plantigrade. I have a fantastically cursed image for y'all after stream. Love that for you, Salty. Shouldn't have told me that. Sorry. I guess I shouldn't have. You're right. So digitigrade, I've drawn this as more of like a cat. Those are sort of cat legs. So if I were to translate that into bird legs, the thing with birds is that their legs are very, very thin. Right? If I was to translate bird legs onto a person, right, I'd probably keep the thighs the same, and slowly I'd thin out the legs a lot. So the calves and the ankle would thin out a lot. And then the heel would be really, really thin. Again, this is very fantasy. It's like there's really no scientific way to do this properly. Because birds have hollow bones, so they're a lot lighter than people are. So their legs can probably hold up this amount of weight. And that's how they can fly as well. Alright, so I would thin out these legs a lot. But then I would make sure that the feet are really large. So then you have a larger base to hold the body on, right? So if you kind of think of it as like a lamp, you know, the lamp bottom has like a really, really wide base, but it's like really, really thin on top. But that wide base makes sure that the height can be held on the bottom. So I would need to make sure that the talons are really, really wide to account for the fact that the legs are very, very thin. And so bird legs. Thin legs. Wide base. Feet to account for weight. If T-Rex were related to chickens, did they also have digitigrade legs? Yes. Would you shorten the thighs in that case? I would actually. Okay, so yes and no. Often when I draw the animal legs, I just change the ratio of torso to legs, just to make it easier on me. When I was younger, I would do that. I would shorten the thighs and then kind of move up where the knee would be, and then shift where the heel would be. As I've gotten older and done it more, I think I've just made the legs longer. Like I've changed the ratio, so it would be closer to like 1/3 torso, 2/3 leg. But yes, that is one way to do it. Is if you shorten and change the ratio of the parts of the leg instead. Um, it's just a bit awkward to look at first. You get used to it, but it happens. And those feet went from alien to frog to bird so fast. Yes, sir. That's how it goes. But yeah, so bird legs have a thin legs, wide base, feet to account for weight. So I'll just write that down. So how long should they be? So they can either... I'm gonna put I there because it just depends on who does what. I either change torso to leg ratio or shift joints to account for new lengths. But yeah, so bird legs are thin. They have a wide base to feet to account for the weight. And how long should they be? I either change the torso to leg ratio or shift joints to account for new lengths. Right. So it really just does depend on what you want to do. I tend to switch between those two, but depends on what you're feeling. It's the same. This kind of deal is the same thing with the thin legs with wide based feet to account for weight. Is the same deal with dogs and cats. I tend to break that rule though. So if I am drawing like I have a fox character, so when I'm drawing the fox feet, I don't tend to make the paws very, very large. I tend to keep them very, very thin. So it does look like he's walking on needles all the time, which is like not really realistic, but I tend to not care on that regard because I want him to have that really thin frame rather than like have the more powerful looking haunches. Because I want to keep that thinness with the character. So again, all of these rules you can keep them at your own discretion. There are stuff that like, will help the character feel more realistic. It'll help them feel a bit more grounded, but again, you can take more stylistic ideas into it as well. Do octopus have legs or arms? Depends on who you ask. I hear a lot of people refer to them as just limbs. I think if I remember correctly, like I've seen a lot of people just refer to them as limbs, so that they can avoid that. Sad I'm late, have to catch it from the beginning later. That's okay, Dakota. You've missed a bit, but you haven't missed a crazy amount, I don't think. You've missed 2 parts of the lesson, but you can always request more stuff. But yeah, guys, if you ever have... So once we get to this next portion, if you have more stuff that you want to request me to talk about, feel free to just drop them in. Like stuff that I can turn into a mini lesson. How their arms. Alright, understood. So if you have more stuff that you want me to do and do like full lessons on, I can absolutely do that. Right now we're going to be talking about how to place the animal ears on a person's head in a proportional way. Which is a bit of a it's a thing that I'm weirdly passionate about. But again, to your own discretion. This rule can be broken, but whatever. I will talk about it regardless. So, ears. What about tails? I can definitely talk about tails. Tail placement. I'm ready to clip so I can put on Reddit. Okay. What color haven't I done? I've done green, I've done purple. Let's do a blue. Put my voice on Reddit. What? Oh, understood. Okay. There goes Jessie talking about cat ears again. Alright, listen, Drew. So ear placement. Oh, but I thought I missed a live. This stream was almost over. Nope, we've got another hour after this. So ear placement. I'm trying to think. Do I put the don't here? I don't like saying don't for ear placement. That's the thing. Yeah, fine. I don't like saying that, but I probably will. Anyway. She's gonna listen to this while I do homework. No worries. Glad you could pop in regardless. Every time cat ears are mentioned, I'm tempted to just make them more realistic. They're co-human species. That actually makes sense. That's valid. Bear ears, it's the same deal. Bear, cat, wolf, any of those fun things, right? I feel like I see the same things over and over. So if I kind of just draw a head for a second. I don't draw ears on my characters. I never used to draw ears when I was younger. Now it feels weird if I don't have ears, so I actually quite like drawing ears now. So the ears feel like a nice finisher. Yep, Carby, they will be available afterwards. This goes to everybody, actually. If you missed part of the stream, no worries. They will be available immediately after they're finished, so you can go back and watch them just in case. Just in case you missed anything. Okay. That's the wrong shortcut that I used. Okay. Oh, good lord. What happened there? Okay. Who needs ears when you have hair? Yes. My hair can hear everywhere as well. Okay. So, number one thing that I see is people just place the ears right here. Like right there. So this is the common one. This one lends to more aesthetic. And function. This is what I like to call the anime. I have nothing against anime. This is just what I see all the time. Right? So this is a really common one, right? It lends to more of an aesthetic than a function. If we're placing these ears on a human head, this does not work at all. So this is a really common one. Doesn't matter what kind of ear, all right? Rabbit, rabbit, dog, cat, bear, whatever, right? Is it incorrect? Technically, no. It's another one of those ones where it's like, can you place it there? Yes, it works for aesthetic, it works for whatever, right? But it, does not necessarily matter. Just so I'm clear, you're saying that this is wrong. In terms of if you are placing it on a person, technically, yes. Technically. But again, I'll explain why. Would now be an appropriate time to ask about humanoid dragon horns. Humanoid dragon horns. Like just horn placement, if you were to put them on somebody? Dakota? Like where to place the dragon horns on like a person? That spot works for more for horn placement, to be honest. Yes, though I don't tend to place horns there. But again, yes, you're correct. So we push a little further down the side of the head instead. Yes and no. Depends on what you're looking for. Yeah, okay. I could kind of go over horn placement a little bit on this kind of character as well, too, then. So this is the only thing that I want to say for the don't section, right? I don't really have anything else that I wanted to point out. So that's not really what we want to go for. What we're looking for instead, right, when we're placing ears, here's the thing, right? So we have a human head. When it comes to cats and dogs and whatever, they function a little bit differently, right? So our ear canals are placed here, right? That's where our ears are. right? Naturally, our ear canals are placed there. We think about the anatomy of a person and the scientific kind of crap about a person, right? The ear canals come out this way. They come from the top of our heads. They don't come from up here. They don't. Can they? I suppose. If you want to shift around everything, yes, you can place them there. But if you wanted to do something that lends a little bit more to the humanoid aesthetic, which is something that I tend to prefer to lean towards, you would have your ears kind of start up there and they would come down to the side of the head like this. That tends to be how it works a little bit more, because then you have your ear canal down here and then the big ear functions like it should. Because really what our ears are doing is they're amplifying the abilities of our ear canal so that they can hear in a certain way. It's kind of like if you place like a cup next to a speaker, right? That cup helps amplify the sound of the speaker. And that's really what these ears do. That's why animals can hear so well. So what we want to do is we want to bring these animal ears kind of down to where our ear canals are. I actually think the larger look is a lot cuter than this. Personally. That's a personal thing. Bring the ears down to the ear canal. Like cupping a speaker. You know, like when you're holding your phone and you put your hand, like you cup it around the speaker so that the sound can like curve more towards you. That's generally what these ears are doing. Shoot, it's 4. It's 5 now. Also makes the head look balanced better with the bigger ears. True. I always thought they heard from the middle of the ear. No, actually, it is kind of from the side. Well, no, yes, it would be on an actual cat, yes, it would be closer to the center because their ear canals kind of start from the top. If we have like a cat, then like their ears are kind of here and they hear from back there, if I remember correctly. But our ear canals are placed down there, so they would be placed differently if it's on a person compared to a cat. That's generally what I'm getting at, right? Has more function. So this is more for aesthetic. This is more for function. If you want your ears to function, like if you're making a D&D character, or if you're making like an Arknights character or whatever, maybe you want like to have more function to your design compared to just aesthetic. It's the same deal with bunny ears, like, you know, bring them down. Bear ears are a little bit tougher because bear ears are more circular, a little bit smaller, so you don't really have the triangular shape to lend off of, so on and so forth. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other animals, but regardless, that tends to be how I think in terms of that. Human dragon has elf ears. Depends. I don't necessarily see it like that. It depends on what you want to do, right? Your aesthetic as an artist depends on like what you're, because again, the thing with placing animal parts on a person is that it's all fantasy, right? You can try and make it as biological as you possibly can, but at the end of the day, it is fantasy. So you can do whatever you want at your own discretion. There are tips. These consider these like tips to help you make them look better and more realistic and more functional. But at the end of the day, like there is really no really harsh, correct way to draw it. It's just, you know, do as like do the best you can. uh, It reminds me when I would draw ponies, I would draw their ears as short, chubby, fluffy kind of way. It'd be huge. If person was wearing a cat ear headband, would we draw it more for aesthetic? Yes. So if it's just like the headband, they're not functional, so whatever. You just have the ears up there. I wouldn't, if you had like a cat ear headband and you had like the person and their cat ears were down here, that's a little strange. If it's like fake ears, then yeah, for sure. Like I had like when I was younger, I had those like cat ear headbands, like the ones that rest on the top of the head that had like rhinestones on them. Those ones I had for just aesthetic, right? It's like it's for aesthetic purposes. This is more for if they actually have the ears and you're trying to make them functional. That tends to be what I'm kind of going for. How'd fox ears work? Exactly the same. You would make them look exactly the same. Mermaid, other fish human anatomy. I can go over that for sure. I'll very quickly go over horns. The thing with horns is that there is no wrong way. It's hard to do horns wrong because there really isn't a wrong way to do them. So horn placement. What about for horses? Horses are tricky. The thing with horses is that horse ears are not very large. So a lot of the times when we're thinking in this regard, people tend to break this rule for horses a lot. I break the rule for horses a lot. So what I do is I do tend to just kind of, if we have like the person, I tend to just kind of bring it slightly down, but I keep the ears more on top of the head, like rather than bringing it down, because horse ears are not fluffy. They're very very skin like. Their ear canals rest on the top of the head like others, but on a person it looks a bit strange if you kind of have them down there. You can make them more fawn like if you want them a little bit more fawn like, then you can keep the ears down here. All right, that's what I do for deer, is I keep their ears down here. For horses it's a bit different though. So for horses I tend to break the rule and I just put the ear up on top. But for deer and the other kind of unguligrade animals, like deer, moose, all that fun jazz, I tend to put the ears on the side instead. Our challenge, make horns look weird and cool. I love weird horns. I was struggling with it, looking right, and saw the ears and figured it was worth asking. Yeah. Trying horns on my human dragons to the back of the head. Like all the way at the back of the head? Again, technically not incorrect if you have them back here. Weighting wise, I don't think I'd place them back there, just in terms of weighting. That's WEIGHT. Weighting. Whoops. Okay. So let me just write a little disclaimer here. Technically, there is no wrong way to draw horns. We'll talk the best. Whoops, the best placement. In terms of weighting. Right? If we're talking about like tiny little horns, we're talking about tiny little nubs, right? Those can be placed wherever the heck you want, right? Those are not heavy. Nobody cares, right? Just place them where you want. There are better places to place horns, though, if you have really, really large ones, right? I'm going to draw some heads from the side. Not all the way. Yeah, I figured, because that's a little bit awkward. Love drawing weird looking horns. So true. Do ram horns, please. Yep, I was going to go over those. So if we have, like, big ram's horns, two places, right? If we have really, really big horns, this place back here, we start from back here on the head. This feels unbalanced. This is back heavy. Right, so all really, really big horns, if you place them somewhere near the back of the head, those tend to feel really, really unbalanced and heavy and whatnot. So it feels a little bit awkward if you draw them coming from there. Generally, with larger horns, I tend to kind of give this rule. So larger horns. to look better when placed in this area. Right, so this kind of quadrant, this kind of area on the front of the head, right, starting from the middle top of the head or the middle side of the head, going down to like the forehead, that tends to look better when you're placing larger horns in that area, right? So that's ram's horns, that's deer horns, that's demon horns, whatever you're kind of going for, right? So if we have like, say if we've got like really big funky ram's horns, what I kind of like to do is I start them from the top, kind of bring them around like that. That tends to look really nice and harsh. But because it wraps around the head, it's almost like you're giving your character a helmet. So this feels a little bit more balanced. If we have like this ram character, say if you're doing like a tiefling or something, you want really big horns, you might want something more like this. Or if you've got, I tend to do them on the forehead, but like I know that a lot of people don't always do that. If you have them placed a little bit farther back, like if you kind of have them farther on the head, I'd just be careful that you don't bring them back a little bit too far. So if their hairline is down here instead. If you got bigger horns, you might want to place them upwards, make them a little bit thinner so they feel a little bit stronger. But again, still remaining within that quadrant. One look that I tend to really, really love for horns is when they're like right on the forehead. Like if they come straight from the forehead. So you have your person and the horns come straight from there. And they're like the big, tall demon horns. I really like that look. Because that tends to be kind of fun. But yeah, generally, if they kind of go within that quadrant, it tends to look really nice. I'm talking big honkers. Yeah, big, big honkers. You just really need to think about the weighting. Would they be okay with wearing with these? Let me just write that down. Think about weighting. Would they be fine? With the size of these horns. Oops. Right. So when we're talking about horns, you know, would the character be okay with the size of the horns that you're placing on the head? Right? Think about how heavy those horns probably are, right? Horns are not super, super light. So depending on how large they are, where do you think on the head they should be placed? And that's really up to your own discretion. I just hear big what? Big horns. CSP is threatening to die. Oh no. Okay. May lose the masterpiece I created. Just save. Save and close and reopen. Or you can draw the character visiting a chiropractor and getting treatment for their horns. Technically, I'm supposed to go to Cairo at some point to fix my neck, but like I don't feel any pain with it, so like I'm okay. But like last time I went, he was like, "Yo, your neck is messed up," and I was like, "Oh, is it?" Too late. Everything's frozen. Oh dear. Survive. There you go. Because CSP has autosave, doesn't it? What was what I'm going to talk about next? It was like mermaid anatomy, fish. Somebody mentioned talking about that. Okay. Fish and mermaids. What color do I have? I've done purple, green, blue, yellow. Let's go with red. Okay, fish anatomy is something that's like... Fish anatomy is weird. I'm trying to think, how am I going to teach this one? I taught it a long time ago, and it's the one that I always struggle with the most. Because it's one that... Let's just go with fish/mermaids. Reptiles? Yeah, we can talk about reptiles. Any specific portion of reptiles, Neko Trigger? Autosave is kidding. I haven't lost a canvas in like 4 years. I haven't lost. No, that's a lie. When I was working on that really big Star Lost comic, I there was one I was working on it in a car, like with my tablet. So like autosave, what like the autosave function turned off because I didn't have Wi-Fi available. Because Photoshop needs Wi-Fi for autosave sometimes. But also I'm working on a Surface Pro 7, so it really didn't like handling Photoshop. So there was one page, luckily it was a really easy one, that like crashed maybe 3 times and I lost it 3 times. Like it wasn't a hard page. It didn't like it wasn't a lot of work that was lost every time, but you know. Do fish have souls? They steal your soul, Oz. That's why we don't go into the ocean. Understood. You're right. Just what you know about them. Just what I know about them. Okay. I will do my best then. Wait, froze again. I celebrated too soon. Yeah, maybe you should just like save and close and reopen. That tends to be the best thing you can do. My intent to die so fast, autosave doesn't have a chance. Yuck. That sucks. I have a character with a lot of horns on their head. Poor my character. I think the character. I don't really have a character with a lot of horns. I think a character. The most horns that I've ever put on a character is like 4. I don't think I've ever put more than that on them. I've never been a horn person. I loved teeth. Teeth was a thing that I still really like. Teeth is a really big one. Weird limbs and wings were always the thing that I did a lot. I tried to save agony. Okay. Fish/mermaids. So I'm going to talk about stuff that people do a lot with mermaids. It's hard to draw a fish wrong. But I will talk about stuff that people have done with mermaids. Summoning Azim, he's a mermaid. Understood. Teeth in the forehead, yes, sir. So don't do this, right? Stuff that I see with mermaids. One big thing that I see with mermaids is like we got our little guy here. One thing I see a lot is whoop. Just drawing the body like this. You know, where are the hips? Leg length. Etc. Right? So this one is a little... So this one's unrealistic. In a lot of ways. This is the number one, right? Where are the hips? Where's the leg length? Etc. So it's unrealistic in a lot of ways. Good morning. Hello. Oh, hello, Azim. Welcome in. Fish come in many shapes. Friend, fried, and fresh. So true. What the fish doing? Azim is here to see mermaids. I summoned him in defense position. Understood. All right. Sushi. Yum. Delicious. Right. The spork pose. So true. So are the hips, the leg length, etc. So this drawing mermaids like this is unrealistic in a lot of ways, right? You're missing a lot of anatomical stuff. You're missing a lot of the fun proportion-y things, right? So once again, this is really the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe I shouldn't have lit a candle right before I started teaching, because it's making me sleepy. The smell of it's so nice. It smells like cinnamon snickerdoodles. So my room smells really nice, you know. It's also getting dark in here. I should probably turn on a light. I'll do that later. Okay. So where are the hips, the leg length? This is unrealistic in a lot of ways. So fish themselves. A fish skeleton, right? I don't have the time to straight up draw an entire fish skeleton. Right, for fish, generally a head attached. Did I spell that right? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Attached. To a long spine. So with mermaids. You replace legs with a continuation of the spine below pelvis. Right, the pelvis is kind of around where your hips are. Your pelvis is what divides your torso from your legs. So that's generally that area. Hello, Arcade Cubes, welcome in. Don't turn on the light, you've got a candle. True. My tiny little candle in the corner of my room. Jessie falls asleep on stream, perhaps. I've killed many fish. I'm also knowledgeable of fish skeletons. Very valid. I do love fish. I love eating fish. Fish is like one of my favorite meats. I do prefer chicken, but love fish. I had poke today actually. I had salmon. um I had poke today, so I had fish. Kind of cruel if I ate it in front of my betta. Anyway, poke bowl. So poke bowl, think of it as like a sushi salad, basically. I mean, that's the easiest way that I can describe it. Sufficiently are head attached to a long spine. So with mermaids, you combine the two. So you combine your human anatomy with your fish anatomy. So you replace the legs with a continuation of a spine below the pelvis. Right? You keep your pelvis in there. You want to keep your hips in there to allow for the human shape to be allowed in there, but you continue the spine below the pelvis. So that means that your tail, at the very minimum, has to be the same length as what your legs would normally be. At the very, very minimum. So if I were to draw somebody who was slightly more... This is like my quick head. I'm not thinking about it. Can you tell that I draw men more often than women? Right, so if we keep our pelvis in there, extend the hips more. If we were to just draw the legs, our legs would be kind of the same length here. So really, our tail at the very minimum, would be about this long, right? At the very, very minimum. But that tends to not look as cool, so we usually make them a lot longer. Let me fix this a bit. So it looks a little bit cleaner. But it tends to look a little bit nicer if you continue the hip shape into the tail. Right, this pelvis shape. And then you swap into fish. Whatever kind of tail you did. This is like a... I did the same. Huzzah for Mermaid Anatomy. Yes, sir. Oh, it's so long. Okay. Yeah, so it tends to just look better when the tail is longer. That's an aesthetic thing. So if we just talk about this a little bit. Sorry, so at the very minimum, so we want to keep the pelvis in there. the anatomy. On the transition. Of the hips. Into the tail. At the minimum. Tail length should be the same as legs. Often looks better when longer. LOL. A mermaid, but it's only one of those 20-foot long sea leviathan looking fish, like an oarfish, sailfish, oarfish. That's right. Rat tutorial, like how to draw a rat. I don't think I can do a step-by-step of a rat for this one. Let me just fix this real quick so it's not. Taking up too much space. So generally, we want to keep the pelvis. Then the anatomy, blend the transition of the hips into the tail, so not just straight in. We want to make sure that we continue the hips, keep the pelvis in there. Feel a little bit more weighty. Right, we want to have the curve in there. I'm back here. Hello, Kirby. Oarfish. I spent the last few minutes trying to remember that name. I love oarfish. I'd love to see one in real life. The big boy from Animal Crossing. So you want to keep your pelvis within the anatomy and blend the transition of the hips into the tail. And at the minimum, your tail length should be the same as legs. Often looks better when longer, lol. Mermaids are fun. Anything serpent-like is fun because they can be easy to draw. They can be. It's easy to draw. It's hard to make them look good. That's why. That's always my thing. It's easy to draw anything. It's hard to make it look good. That's my deal. It's the same thing with like hair. It's easy to draw hair. It's hard to make it look natural. Oops. Just a fancy wavy line person. Valid. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, I pressed the wrong button. That's why. Whoopsie doopsie. There we go. Wondering what was happening there. Okay. Any tips for fish fins like on the head? I have an OC who has them. Yep, just give me a second. I'd rather an oarfish stay a minimum of 400 miles away from me. They don't do anything. You'll be fine. So fish fins on like the head, like in a functional way or in more of an aesthetic way? Because that depends. If it's more of an aesthetic way, then I can show you my preferences, but not necessarily like any anatomical stuff. If it's in a functional way, I can talk about that for sure. Because the more functional way is a bit weird. But if you really wanted to make it something a little bit more like functional, but in terms of it just there for aesthetic, it works the exact same as like horns or ears. Like if we have them in like a functional, okay, yeah, because if it's for more aesthetic, then you can just have them the same as like the way that I put on deer ears. You can just kind of have your fins down here, and it looks really cute. But if you want it more functional, then you can have those fins work like gills. So if we have like gills. If we have them attached to the head, what you can do, I have a different character who kind of has this too. If we have like we have fins on the head, kind of around like the ear section, you could have it so that the fin is there's two ways you can do this. You can either have it as if it's more elf-like you can have the the function of the ear work exactly the same, but then you can extend just the cartilage of the ear and make this into a fin. You can maybe have them move. You can do something like that. Have some fun jazz like that. You could make it more gill-like. So if you were to... If you just kind of had the ear down here. You have the fish gills. Some people place them down here. So it's like you have the ears and they continue down into here. Because what that does is you can have these fins attached to the neck. And that'll kind of help continue the cycle of gills. Because that attaches to your windpipe down here. That'll help in that turn, in that regard. If it's on the top of the head, that's a little bit funky, because that one isn't necessarily a placement that you would have a fin at all. That's not 100% just aesthetic, because at the top of the head, there's really no function that it can serve up there. Other than, like, just aesthetic. Was there, like, a specific spot that these fins were in? Or was it just mostly, like, you know, wherever? Yeah, I have a character who has ears like that. They're like the ear ones. Okay. Yeah. I have a character like this too. Cool. Yeah. So what you can do is just like have it function just like an ear, and you can just extend the cartilage out. Like that. You could even have the ears like move. They can work like a normal fin would, but function or aesthetic, this is technically like just perfectly fine. It's a really unique. Yeah. Anatomy. It's weird. Okay. Let me scroll up because I don't think there were any other like specific questions. If anybody else has any specific things you want me to go over, let me know. If not, then I'm just gonna like continue and look at the community post, and whatever was second most voted, that's what I'll go on to. But yeah, if anybody has any other specific questions, let me know. Okay, let's see here though. What was second most? I straight up don't remember. Oh, animal heads in different angles. Yeah, the different angle ones are really funny. I love talking about those. Oh, tails. Oh my god, you're right. My bad. Let's talk about tails. Okay. Worst thing about anything on a human skull is having to draw the hair around them. Most can't just draw the protrusions on the hair. I love drawing the hair around the thingies. It's like, it's figuring out where like the hair sprouts and then figuring out how either the crown or the part is going to move around it. I, however, am not against having the hair integrated with the ears. Like, I've seen a lot of people do that, where it's like the hair kind of flows into the ears, which is technically not incorrect, because really, ears without that fur is just an extension of the skin. So technically, really, the hair will flow into there regardless. Like, if you think of how it places on, like, a dog or a cat, the fur flows from the top of it. It's not like it goes around the ear, it flows on top of it. Right? Because it's not like the hair sprouts from one section, right? It sprouts from everywhere on top of your head. So if you have, like, your ear placed in the middle, the hair is going to sprout the same way from that. Like that. Technically not incorrect. I'm sorry. I'm going off the top of my head, Ian. Alright? Like dragon tails. Well, I'll just talk about tails in general because it's the exact same regardless. So let's talk about tails. What colors have I not done? Did I talk about snouts and horse faces earlier? I did not. We have not talked about faces at all, actually. A lot of people have been asking about ears and legs and wings and all that fun jazz, but we have not talked about snouts. So we will go into that depending on how long this tail one takes, which it shouldn't. Okay, red, yellow, blue, green, purple. What have I not done? Pink. I haven't done pink. Let's do a pink one. But that's pretty similar to red. Let's do a different green. Let's do like something more cyan-y. Okay. This is one long file. I'll probably rearrange it so it's not too bad. Okay, tails. Different tails. Just draw a line. True. Okay. What is incorrect about tails? What is a thing that I've seen that is kind of wonky? Okay. So when drawing tails, you could say just wing it with tails. True. So don't. Right? Number one thing that I see, right, is if somebody is drawing somebody from the front, if we just kind of have a person, and pretend like the pelvis looks okay here. And then they just kind of approximate where the tail goes. And it's usually like either up here. It usually starts from like up here. Like if I kind of draw like a, I'll just do what Oz said. I'll do like a, let's do like a cat tail thing, right? So this is a little too high up. A little too high up. Feels like it's coming. Whoa, for the back. I never thought about the hair thing like that before. Wow, it changed my whole perspective. Yeah, because technically, like if it's sprouting from that one area, you can think of it as just like an extension of the skin on the head. So really, it's not wrong. It's just it's just it depends on how you draw it, you know. A little too high up, and it feels like it's whoops. It feels like it's coming from the back. I think this is the most incorrect thing when we're talking about tails, right? There's two ways. Actually, let's just do a little explanation on tails. So tails are an extension. Hang on, X. Yes. Extension, yep, of the spine. Should continue. From the tailbone. Wow, tailbone on a person. Right, so tails are an extension of the spine. That's really all that they are. Think of like cats, dogs, right, birds. If you have like a cat, I've been drawing a lot of cats recently, but I'm still bad at them. Whoops. If you think of a cat. Oh yeah, I'm not good at cats. I can draw one kind of cat. I can draw a cat that looks like it was drawn by Studio Ghibli. That's literally it. Right? So tails in general, are like an extension of the spine. So they come out from where the spine extends, right? The tailbone on yourself, right? Hi, am I late? Was doing art. No worries. We're about 20 minutes till the end, but don't worry. You can always rewatch Aku. So your tailbone, if you've ever landed hard, like if you've ever fallen and landed on your butt, and you kind of there's this one section right above that hurts more than anything else, that's your tailbone. You can kind of feel it if you sort of press on your like below your lower back. There's like a one portion like right on the bottom of your spine that feels sharper than everything else. So that's your tailbone. It's like right above your butt, right? It's like right there. If you kind of press in that area, that is where your tailbone is. So that is where your tail should sprout from. No worries. Okay. So tails, an extension of the spine, they should continue from the tailbone on a person. So if we were to draw them on somebody, identifying bones by which part hurts when you fall. I mean, sometimes it helps, you know? Monkey. Should continue from the tailbone on a person. So, 2 ways you can do this. To engage in my artwork. That's all good. Okay, how am I going to present this? Okay. I have to do this in order to stay PG and family friendly. Okay. So if we have like, there's one way to do tails, right? If we continue the spine, if we continue the spine out, that means that the tailbone kind of starts around here. And that's one place where you can place the tail. All right, this would be like for, so this is a small, so this is like the cat or dog, right? The more mammalian kind of tails. All right, so extension. Extend the tailbone. Woo! Sorry. Good lord. Extend the tailbone. Keep integrity. Like anatomy. Right, so this is the cat or the dog. You can do this with rats. You can do this with mice. All that fun jazz. You extend the tailbone. Keep the integrity of leg anatomy. Right, so it really just is like an extra limb. Right, this is the cat and the dog. The one that I think is harder to do, but is also correct. This is what I like to call the alligator. Let me just move this a little bit. Alligator? 1 L, 2 L's. I probably got it wrong. 2 L's. Okay, I had it right the first time. Thank you. Oh, understood, Nick. I think I used to do that too when I was a kid. Yes, you're very correct, Autumn. Super zoned invalid. This is good art background. Learning while drawing on the side. It is. I'm glad. All art models come with pants glued on. The truth. The sneeze scared me. Sorry. Reptile tails are definitely one of the easiest tails because they're so thick. The thing with this one, okay, so this is the alligator, is extend the spine. and the torso. Shift the pelvis to adequate for legs. All right. So this one you'd use a lot for reptiles, alligators, lizards if you choose, dragons if you choose. The thing with dragons is that yes, they are more reptilian, but you can mess around with it. You don't have to worry about that. You could go with this method as well because they are fictional, so it technically does not matter. But the alligator, you extend the spine out of the torso and you shift the pelvis to adequate for the legs, right? In this case, then if I were to draw this kind of like from the front, it'd be like, it's almost like you're drawing a pelvis like a mermaid, but then the legs are still there. So you have to kind of adequate, move the pelvis around, move the legs around in order for them to work. It's really weird. This one's really tough, especially if you choose to still continue to do, you know, like add pants on them and draw them with, like, you know. Okay, wait, let me do this again. How am I gonna, okay, hang on. I'm trying to think of how to move this around so it still fits. Okay. Okay, yeah. What about something like Ninetail? Like a Ninetail fox? I would work with the cat and dog one and just extend the area of reach. So they'd all kind of like be really thin, maybe come from an area. Wow, this is so close to the edge. So I'd kind of keep the cat and dog one, maybe just make the area where they all come out of a little bit larger. I had a kind of issue with drawing those people. They never had hips as a kid. Yeah. But yeah, so like if you had like the person kind of from the front, and it would be like you extend. It would be almost like you draw them as a mermaid at first. But then you just kind of continue the legs. Like you'd have to push them out of the way. I had an alligator character when I was younger, and like it was always the worst. This was like in the middle, so this was high school. It was the middle of me figuring out how all this anatomy works. So like he was the worst to draw because of just how tough this section was, because it looks so unnatural. It looks so strange. Even though this is technically how it works, because if you look at an alligator, you know, their entire like body is one. It's the same thing with like snakes, right? Their entire body is one big spine. Right, so you have to adequate for that. Or you have to adjust for that. That's the word. You have to adjust for that. Oops. Oops. Alright, so you just have to adjust and continue the pelvis downwards. Oh my god. More creatures. They seem to like the scent of my candle. You're all good, Waffle Puff. Welcome in. How them all come out of the base at different angles, I guess. Basically, yeah. So the way Telly has learned to draw all these animals, just having a character based on literally every animal. You can ask Ray about that. It's basic. That's technically, that's not far off the truth. Okay. So that's generally how I think of tails on a person. Or just tails in general. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left. Anyone have anything really nice and quick that they want me to talk about? I could last for another 10 minutes. Have I done wings? That was the very first thing we did. Yep, we talked about wings for a bit. Makes drawing normal humans feel hard. Now faces are not an animal thing. Or like, did you want animal faces, like from different angles? Bugs. Bugs are not a short lesson, but what kind of aspect of bugs? Nice, yes, thanks. If you want something more extensive about any animal, we've technically done streams for every single animal. So if you want, like, there was a mammal stream, there was a bird stream, there was a fish stream, there was a reptile stream. We did not do insects, but we did reptiles, birds, fish, and mammals. That was what we did. Yeah, those were the streams that we did. We didn't do bugs. But if you want like proper anatomy that's not as rushed as each one of these are, then you can definitely go to each of those. We talked about it there as well. Animal feet, we did animal feet. We did the legs. I kind of went into feet a bit. Never mind, I saw, yeah. Okay, so you want like animal faces? Okay, I can do that. Hopefully quick enough. Okay. What have we done? Purple, green, blue. Okay, now we can do pink. So yeah, so we're gonna be doing animal faces. Really want to draw human bee hybrids for some reason. I love human bug hybrids. They're really hard to teach because there's no correct way to do it. But they're a lot of fun. Faces into teeth, like tusks. We did not talk about tusks. Tusks are basically just an extension of teeth, though. Bugs are faux shaped. No, bugs are the best. I love bugs, Oz, okay? Okay, so animal faces. So don't. Alright. You drawing, say if we're drawing, here's my favorite one. Alright? Say if we're drawing like a wolf or something. I'm bad at drawing animals without a reference. Thank you, Jessie. No worries. So say if we're drawing something from the front, all right? We got a dog. We got some kind of dog or wolf from the front. I don't want to see this. All right. So we have the snout moving on this side. So we have full front. Right. This is disproportionate. Not in perspective. I'm just going to shorthand it. So this is disproportionate. It is not in perspective. I don't care what you tell me. That's incorrect. All right. We're trying to keep it accurate. This is not accurate. Alright? I'm sorry if I'm crushing your dreams. This is just not how it goes. Alright? I'm the family member who takes care of spiders in the house person. Well, that's a cartoony dog. Yeah, that's pretty... Technically, yes, you can do this if you're going... Okay, I always have to do this disclaimer. Technically, yes, you can do it if you want to keep it this way. But if you're going for something a little more accurate, this is incorrect. So, what we want to do is we want to think of the faces in 3D shapes. Think of... Usually most people think of like the head in general as like a sphere. I don't know if you can tell how tired I am today. I'm not dealing with enough today. Alright, so if we have the head in general as a sphere, kind of envision it with that curve. We also want to envision the snout as like a prism. You can foreshorten, right? I'm keeping these to really, really basic shapes right here. All right, so we're going with dogs, but this can go with cats, this can go with foxes, this can go with anything, right? You just want to make sure that you're shorthanding it. So if we're doing it from the front, You still want to think of that shape. Oh, good lord. It's easier to identify when you're actually looking at a picture of the animal that you are drawing. So forwards like this. I'm trying to do a 3D arrow. Right. So when we're looking from the front, we want to think of our faces like three-dimensional shapes. Think of like prisms. This is a sphere. So now it's a prism. Right, so again, you can apply this to really any animal. Doesn't matter which one. If you apply it to like a, say like a bird, like if you have like a beak, the beak is then like more of a cylinder. Or like a cone, I guess, if you kind of go like a curved cone, depending on the bird that you're drawing. But again, it's the basic shape that you want to think of, right? You want to think of those really, really basic, like, prisms that we're working with, you know? Saw a bug earlier and I was halfway to calling the Power Rangers to deal with it. Oz, no. Anyone else think the snakes are cute as like dogs and cats? I love snakes. I really, really want a ball python. So comedically large plastic cup as practice. Fun fact, back when the studio was like in person, I was the person who took the bugs out of the studio. Like if anybody was scared, there was one of our admins. She's, oh my goodness, I believe she still works for us. But she one day we were working. I was just kind of trucking along with something in between classes. I'm like eating my lunch. She kind of comes out of the kitchen. She goes, "Is anybody in here okay with handling bugs?" And I was like, "All right." Get up. I'm like, "What's happening?" She takes me to the kitchen. You go into the sink, and there's like there's a house centipede. There's a centipede in the sink. They can't get out of the sink. It's just kind of skittering around. She's like, I don't want to get it. And I'm like, okay. Right. So I get a cup and one of the pieces of paper. I kind of shove it into the cup, and I take it outside. I take it outside and I shake and like I shake it out of the cup and let it skitter off. And I shout like, "Be free!" And there's like this couple in their Lamborghini, just kind of staring at me, shaking this cup violently outside of the studio. So that was a fun day, but that's what happened. Yes, snakes are the best. A shoe if you're drawing a shoebill stork. Technically, yes. If you did want to go work with like the shoe shape for the shoe bill. Technically, you could. The shoe bills, I think, you'd actually work better with a rectangular prism for that one. You talk to people who think that snakes are gross? I think I had one friend who didn't like snakes. Artists are weak to bug types, except for Telly, apparently. Yeah, except for me. Telly is my social media name. But yes, Jessie over here is immune to bugs. But yeah, so when you're drawing animal faces, you want to think of them in 3D sense. That way it's a little bit easier to draw them. Got like a minute left. I can just do one here really quickly. Right, and then your nose would be kind of right here. You'd think I'd be better with drawing dogs at this point, you know, all things considered. Nope, I am not. I am very, very subpar at drawing dogs and foxes from the top of my head. Apparently, I'm better drawing the mind horse than I am the mind dog. You know what I mean? This actually looks more like a fox than a dog. Oopsies. Oh well. Oh, you know why? It's because of the sharper snout. That's fine. So be it. So be it. Yep, always easier to think in those shapes. Or those forms. Technically, they're forms. If they're 3D, it is a form. Yes, yes, apply it. You have a Black Widow spider in a jar. Is it alive? Should probably not keep Black Widows in jars. I feel like that's a bad idea. It's gonna get mad at you. That power I envy. Just put your stylus down, teleports to the 19th dimension, basically. I turned away and looked over. I thought you were drawing an alligator as a dog. Valid. Yeah, I'm not that great with puppies. Yes, it's alive. I had two. Didn't want to make it when I couldn't get food. One was in our boot room. The other was in the bathroom. Oh my. Okay. Yeah, I don't think you should keep live spiders in jars. I think, like, if you have a spider as a pet, that's a bit different. And then you should get it in an enclosure. Okay. That's going to be all the time that you have from me, though. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like, actually, yeah, there's a couple new people in chat today. If you don't know too much about the studio, we are not just a YouTube channel, we're also an art studio. We're an art school. So if you'd like to check out the classes that we offer, be sure to check them out on our website, where you can get links to our classes, different blogs, different resources that we create. You can check them all out there. This file that you see in front of you will be available as a JPEG on our Discord. So if you'd like to join the Discord, be sure to join so you can get free access to my JPEGs. Download them, keep them, save them, do whatever you want with them. Just don't repost them, please. But if you just want access to my lessons, they're all up there for you. But all of my working files, so this I don't think will be included as a working file because the layers are kind of useless. But if you want access to my other working files from other streams, you're gonna have to join our Patreon. Our Patreon is where, for as little as $5 a month, you can get access to my working files. $5 a month is our working files. $2 a month at the minimum is our behind the scenes, but $5 a month is our working files. If you'd like to join there, be sure to check them out. There's also discounts on our classes if you join. So if you'd like to check those out, there's a limited amount of spots. So be sure to check that out before they are gone. All right. What are we doing next week? I straight up don't remember. I never remember. Let's see. What are we doing next week? It is it's repetition and rhythm. So that's going to be the last principle of design that we're learning together. So we'll be going over repetition and rhythm. And that is what we will be doing. But yeah, y'all. Been a Phantom sub for a while. That's all good. Yeah, thanks for attending a stream for the first time on. But yeah, all right. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.